Hey, welcome back to English Edge, the place where we talk not just about learning English. I'm really glad you're joining me again today. In this space, we slow down, we reflect, we breathe a little deeper, and we get real. And today I want to talk about something that most people avoid, something we run away from, sometimes without even realizing it. I want to talk about silence. Yeah, that quiet space. That moment when there's no background noise, no distractions, no one else's voice, just you. And I want to talk about what happens when you're truly alone, not lonely. That's something else, but alone, intentionally. Because believe it or not, some of the most powerful transformations don't happen when we're surrounded by people. They happen when it's just us, in silence, facing ourselves. It took me years to understand that. For the longest time, I was terrified of silence. I'd play music I didn't care about just to avoid the quiet. I'd scroll endlessly on my phone, start conversations I didn't really want to have, anything to avoid being alone. Because being alone meant facing things I wasn't ready to face. It meant sitting with emotions I had been burying. It meant asking myself questions I didn't have answers to. But at some point, life forced me to slow down. Something happened, something that shook me, and suddenly I found myself in silence, not because I chose it, but because I had no choice. And at first, I hated it. It felt empty, uncomfortable, restless. But little by little, something started to shift. In that silence, I started hearing a voice I had forgotten existed, my own. Not the voice I used to please others, not the voice shaped by expectations or fears, but my voice, the one that had been quietly waiting for me. And I'll be honest with you, some of what I heard wasn't easy. I had to face regrets, old pain, unspoken dreams, parts of myself I had neglected for a long time. But there was also beauty in that silence. I found clarity. I found strength. I found peace, not the kind that depends on circumstances, but the kind that comes from within. You see, silence isn't empty. Silence is full of answers, but we have to get quiet enough to hear them. There's a quote I once heard that stuck with me. It said, "You cannot hear your soul if you're always listening to the world." And it's true, sometimes the world is so loud, we forget what our soul sounds like. Think about it. When was the last time you sat with yourself, without music, without a phone, without a screen, just you? Not to meditate, not to be productive, just to be. It might feel awkward at first. You might feel the urge to escape, to grab your phone, check messages, distract yourself. But if you resist that urge, if you just breathe and stay, you'll start to notice things. You'll start to notice your thoughts, how fast they move, how they repeat. You'll notice feelings that were hiding behind your daily routine. You might realize that you've been tired, or hurt, or longing for something you haven't admitted yet. That's the gift of silence. It reveals the truth. And the truth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just a whisper, a quiet realization that the way you've been living doesn't align with who you are anymore. A small tug in your chest that says, there's something more out there for you. Or a gentle nudge that reminds you, you've been ignoring yourself for far too long. Silence doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just sits with you, like a loyal friend who doesn't need to say anything, because their presence is enough. And when you allow yourself to be with that silence, you begin to reconnect with your inner compass. That compass is something we all have. It's your intuition, Your knowing, it's the part of you that knows when something feels right, even if it doesn't make sense on paper. And it also knows when something looks perfect on the outside, but feels wrong in your gut. But here's the thing, you can't hear that compass when there's too much noise. You can't feel it when you're constantly rushing, comparing, pleasing, performing. You can't follow it when you don't even pause to notice that it's been pointing somewhere else all along. And in that truth, there's power. Because once you see what's really there, you can start to heal. You can start to choose differently. You can start to build a life that actually fits you, not the version of you the world expects. Now, I'm not saying you need to go live in a cabin in the woods and disconnect from everything. We're human. We need connection. We need love, but we also need moments of solitude. We need to remember what it feels like to just be without performing, without entertaining, without trying to be enough. Solitude isn't a punishment. It's a reset. It's where you remember your essence. You start to realize that you're not just what you do. You're not just your chow. You're not just your relationships. You're not your mistakes or your achievements. You're something deeper, something quieter. And that part of you, boss, that stillness inside, that's where your power lives. Some of the most confident, grounded people I know, they've spent time alone. They've faced themselves. They've made peace with their shadows. And that's why they shine. Not because they've never been lost, but because they learned how to navigate their own darkness. If you're listening to this right now and you've been feeling disconnected, if you've been chasing noise just to avoid the quiet, I want to gently challenge you. Give yourself the gift of silence. Start small, maybe 5 minutes in the morning with no phone, maybe a walk by yourself without music, maybe just lying down and breathing, not doing anything at all. Let the discomfort come. Don't fight it. Just observe it. And with time, you'll start to feel something shift. You'll start to feel more at home inside your own skin. Because here's the truth. When you know how to be alone, you become free. Nobody can take your peace away. Nobody can make you feel empty because you're already full. And that, my friend, is real power. So the next time life gets loud, the next time you feel overwhelmed, lost, or disconnected, remember this: the silence is not your enemy, it's your ally. It's not a void, it's a mirror. And if you're brave enough to look into it, you might just find exactly what you've been searching for. Thanks for spending this time with me today. I hope this message reaches you at the right moment, and I hope it reminds you that you're never truly alone. Because every time you come back to yourself, you come back home. Talk to you soon.